In this video, I wanted to discuss why I decided to go all digital on the PS5. I know it's kind of a spicy topic, but I wanted to make this video before it's too late, and physical games really are a niche product. I'm probably part of the problem, but feel free to hear me out if you'd like, or just roast me down below. I don't care. First and foremost, the switch to digital for me was mostly because of convenience and a lack of space in my current living situation. These game cases up here take up a lot of space, and I was fortunate enough that all the PlayStation cases I already have from older generations fit so nicely into this limited setup. And of course, convenience is a huge factor. I've been slowly eased into the use of digital games through the PS4 generation, and I found myself playing my physical games less often just because I needed to go grab and swap out the discs. This resulted in a personal goal to finish all of my physical PS4 games that I had on the shelf throughout the last year or so, just so I wouldn't have to deal with that minor inconvenience anymore. Many of my favorite games on the PS4 have also appeared on PlayStation Plus at some point over the years, so I've just been able to download them when I wanted to play them versus grabbing the case anyways. So that's probably the main reasons for my switch to a fully digital PS5 library, but I also wanted to bring up some of the annoyances from the industry itself. Things like special editions, which include collectibles and whatnot, which I'm a huge fan of, have started to only include digital game codes instead of digital game codes inside of steelbook cases, especially from Sony's first-party studios. Like, what's the point of that? More stuff to fill up your limited shelf space without the actual game disc included? That really screws over the biggest fans of these games who would want to keep their special edition copy of these games forever. But I guess it's more that by doing these collector's editions with digital copies, the biggest fans are getting more locked into the platform as their digital collection of their favorite games grows, and then you get people paying the same amount for games without any of the manufacturing or shipping costs. So I guess it makes sense from the business point of view, but again, it's just pretty brutal for the super fans out there, which leads me to another point about costs. Digital discounts and sales are often on par or better than physical sales in my experience, especially in Canada. Physical game sales never really get that low in price, save for the odd marketplace find, but even years ago, EB Games never really dropped games below $20 unless they were like irrelevant sports titles or dead multiplayer games. And after checking the GameStop Canada website, I don't think that lower threshold of $20 has really changed much over the years. So yeah, I think digital sales often get lower than physical sales at this point, especially if you're very patient and keep an eye on your wishlist or PSN price tracker websites. Again, that's my experience in the west coast of Canada. I'm sure it varies by region and especially by country. An example of that would be when I was in Japan. Used physical prices were a whole different story. I got several used physical Vita games like this for under $5 Canadian, while in Canada a Vita game would never be anywhere under $10 to $20 unless it was shovelware or missing the case. But I rest my case about the pricing, pun intended. Even in the US, it's probably quite a bit different than Canada, but we just don't have that many game retailers here, so therefore the prices are not really that competitive or ever get super low. Even more recently, many big titles have also just stopped releasing physical copies entirely, or in the case of Call of Duty, the disc only includes a license key without any actual game data on them. And I think this is in large part due to the ongoing updating nature of modern games where day one patches are the norm, because if there's no disc, there's no version 1.0 and the game can just continuously get updates and patches and continue to be worked on without the need to go gold. Also, the popularity of digital-only consoles like the Xbox Series S and the slow migration to digital-only PS5s that Sony's been working on. I think a digital gaming future is pretty inevitable. My bet is that the next gen PS6 will not have a disk drive as the default configuration, but it'll probably be sold as a separate attachment, similar to the PS5 Slim that just launched. Going back to the game examples though, two massive titles from last year, Alan Wake 2 and Baldur's Gate 3, did not have physical releases at launch, and I only really heard complaints about this in relation to Alan Wake 2 for some reason. Maybe because Baldur's Gate 3 is an indie published game, whereas Alan Wake 2 was published by Epic Games, but Larian Studios is technically larger than Remedy, so it mostly feels like a strange double standard situation to me. I think Alan Wake being Epic exclusive was actually more of the real issue for people online rather than the physical disc situation, but keeping up with this online gamer outrage is just too tiring to worry about. The fact of the matter is, Alan Wake 2 has only sold 1.3 million copies as of the end of 2023, and it hasn't even made its development costs back, while Baldur's Gate 3 has sold well over 10 million copies. That just ain't right or fair in my book, but I sure hope Epic Games paid Remedy a lot of money for that exclusivity deal. Another thing, a few weeks back, there were rumors that Sony is starting to make deals on CPUs for a potential handheld console, most likely setting up for the next generation of consoles. Supposedly it will run PS4 and patched PS5 games, so imagine if this future handheld fully supported the PSN back catalog. It's going to make PS users wish they had more digital games. Similar to how PC gamers are so locked into Steam and the Steam Deck ecosystem after so many years, and Epic tries to lock in users by bulking up their game libraries for years and years with free games, PlayStation has built up a very comparable catalog and loyalty among its players the last few generations that would hugely benefit from a Steam Deck-like system for PlayStation games. I know I would definitely love that sort of device for myself. Like, the Steam Deck looks really cool, but my game library is mostly on PlayStation, so I don't really want to have to switch, and then I would have to rebuy a lot of my favorite games on Steam. I also wanted to touch on PlayStation Plus again, because if you've been subscribed to it as long as I have, there are just so many games. Even if you exclude the newish extra and premium tiers, there's just so many games in my back catalog that I've never played, but one day I might. Similar to a lot of Steam players who keep buying cheap games but never play them. One recent example of PlayStation Plus coming in clutch though is when WRC came out. I thought it looked really fun and I wanted to try out a hardcore rally game. So I looked through my PlayStation Plus library and I found that I had Dirt 2 from way back who knows how long ago. It's the same developer and a very similar experience, and I tried it out and I had a blast, and it was in my library the whole time. So that digital convenience just cannot be beat. I didn't even have to buy WRC. Now I should disclose that I have a PS5 with a disc drive, which may seem contrary to everything that I've been saying so far, but I still buy physical 4K and Blu-ray movies because, unlike with games, the quality difference between movie streaming and physical 4K movies or even a Blu-ray is very, very significant. Whereas digital games are identical to the disc version with the added benefit of the convenience and the potential price, as I mentioned earlier. As well, my local library does carry physical PS5 games, so that is still an option open to me if I so desire. I actually strongly recommend checking in with your local library if you haven't already, because they might have a huge selection of Blu-rays and even video games that you weren't aware of, and it's free. And just a funny story about getting games from the public library, I did that for the first time fairly recently, and I found that the install speeds from a PS5 disc were actually slower than my internet download speeds. Of course, that depends on your internet plan and all that stuff, but I was just surprised at how long it took to transfer from the disc. Anyways, that's all for this video. Thanks for watching. If you made it this far, like and subscribe and all that good stuff, and let me know down below what you think of the all digital approach to games, or if you're still holding on to physical copies as long as you can.